Baruch Hashem.
Okay, so it's a new adventure now.
This is very exciting. Because I feel like every time I visit the thought of what is a bracha, what even the word means. Anytime I discuss it with students or balabatim or chavra, these are things that I feel like English Christian translations of brachas have messed us up. Because the word blessed doesn't help me any more than the word baruch does. Right? Blessed art thou. I don't know what that means. So let's see.
Very true. And I also find one of the struggles I have, and perhaps there's will be opportunity, and maybe some other people have the same kind of struggle, but is that oftentimes brachas kind of fit into the schedule, meaning to say how long does it take to say a bracha is the amount of time it takes for the spoon to reach the mouth, so like they kind of fit into what we're doing already. And like it takes me, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, there's never going to be a better time in life to say a bracha than now. But like, right. It just, kind of, we always feel like we're always rushing somewhere so we can do something so that when we get somewhere, then we'll be able to just like relax. Like, no, Hashem actually wanted us to sit in between everything. So trying to appreciate what we're doing. If we know what we're doing, it's a little easier to get why we're doing it.
Right. I mean, it's interesting. Like even the early debates between Misnagdim and Chasidim, the famous Tshuva and Rabbi Yehuda, about brachas, meaning should you say L'Shem Yichud before you make a bracha? And then Rabbi Yehuda's comment on that, which was, no, that's what the bracha is. The bracha is supposed to be being mechaven what you're doing L'Shem Shemayim. And often we need reminders that our reminders should be meaningful.
Nachon.
So there's a lot. I mean, we say a lot of brachos. Like we're supposed to say 100 every day. Most of us do anyway. Most of us say 100 brachos. But I mean, there are people that count them. There are people that count them, that are makbid on counting the 100 brachos b'chol yom. So let's see what brachos are about.
No, Brandon, all yours, Sanjan.
Okay, so we are on page Shin Ein Aleph in the older print of the Olas Riyah, and we are on page Shin Ein Ches in the newer print, where Kook begins his paragraph. Soid HaBrachos, the secret of brachos is. So he says Birkas Hanenin uBirkas Hamazon uKedushas HaAchila. So we're talking about Birkas Hanenin, brachos of enjoyment. Birkas Hamazon, and the bracha that you say after eating, ukedushas ha'achila, and the transcendent nature of eating. So, what is all of this? He says, "Ha'kochas ha'elokim mispashten behavaya lefi madregasam." The different godly strengths that spread out through all of existence in accordance with their different levels, different steps and stages. When that will of Hashem, that koch of Hashem, comes out in this world, in non-living, non-moving things. This is something that's in the world of still objects. Hatzomeach, that which is growing, v'hachai, that which is alive. Henen b'soich pu'ulos shel koyach bilti mishuchlal. They are in a way of pu'ulos, of activities, of koyach, of powers bilti mishuchlal. What's mishuchlal here?
I think like not like incorporated. It's not like like sophisticated. It's sort of like in more of an ideal unitary kind of sense.
More abstract, probably.
Abstract, exactly. That's the way to do it. Yeah.
Right. So or haseichel v'chol se'ifav ha'elyonim chaser b'hem. The light of intelligence and all of the categorizations that come from it and all of the branches of it don't exist there.
So interesting, because meaning it's almost like ora seichel, which is like a sort of like in a certain sense we think it's like, oh, that's the paramount. That's kind of the lowest rung in terms of the spiritual emanations, right? So once you can conceptualize it, define it, explain it, and think about it, and the logic affects it, then that's already like the lowest level, right? That's right. Sort of like once things have downgraded. So in its original hashpah, it's bilti mishuchlal. It's so abstract that even logic doesn't operate on it yet.
Right. And then we apply our thought to it, and then that transforms our relationship with it.
Yes.
So Zbayim heim lidei malaba achilas ha'adam. They come into, meaning the world comes into expression meaning the heights of its expression, ba'achilas ha'adam, in our consumption of it, v'hotziyoi es koichoi b'seichel u'v'yosher al pi ha'ifah shel ha'ira v'hadas ha'elokis ha'elyonot shezarachas b'nishmasai. Effectively, what he's saying is that we human beings are a machine that take in the abstract forces that exist within the world, and we transform them through the light of our knowledge and understanding as expressed through us into something. We take in the world and we express what we gain from it.
Okay, so you see, I think I was mistaken. We're coming from the opposite direction. So I thought that we talk about spiritual emanations from on high as they descend below. He's saying no, it's the other way around. He's saying basic life forces in the world have not yet made it up to the world called the world of conception, ideas, and spirit yet. And when we consume it, what we're doing is we're elevating that experience. We're elevating that.
We're incorporating it.
Right, exactly. So the glucose and the nutrients and all those things are now, so to speak, being part of the expression of manashama, part of the expression of the human soul and spirituality now. They've been elevated.
Right. I mean, we take the world in, and now the world that we have consumed, we can now utilize to do things.
What we're doing right now, I mean, saying we're learning Torah, and that Torah is coming from the energy that we imbibed at some point in time. I don't know about you. I didn't have breakfast yet today, but like I'm saying,
a cup of coffee.
So I'm saying, so you're taking that coffee in, right? That's giving you the energy and the necessary nutrients to be able to have a certain amount of packets or units of energy. And that energy is being expressed in a spiritual form. So that energy now, so to speak, that coffee bean that was growing out in Colombia was now has some sort of place and direction in the larger scheme of things.
Right. Meaning it could have been that I would utilize this to not be learning Torah, and that would be worse for the coffee bean. Right? That coffee bean would now lack in
it would be going
what
under the
it was
radar.
utilized for.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says "K'shekayach ha'nosef mitayich ha'ma'achalim mishapech ba'adam lekayach sichli malei or kodesh." And when there is a transformation that occurs, "K'shekayach nosef mitayich ha'ma'achalim mishapech ba'adam lekayach sichli malei or kodesh," when we transform that which we have consumed into something more sublime, something more elevated, that is filled with the light of kedusha. Mis'aleh imoy chelek roshum min ha'avaya. We are also elevating along with it the coffee bean, meaning that piece of existence is now lifted up along with us. It says kasher ra'ayona adam shafel, and when our thoughts are lowly, notel avdus hachushim, and it turns to it's such a beautiful and such a
phrase. I was thinking the same thing.
Such a beautiful phrase and such a sad phrase, right?
Yeah.
That's serving the sensory impulses.
Hashtag consumer market. So that's
right.
That's where we are.
I saw a thing. What was that? I read this a little while ago. That Amazon paid like some insane amount of money, because everything Amazon does is an insane amount of money, in order to make their website, their homepage load 0.2 seconds faster. Because that was like money that they were losing from like the impulse purchase. You want to buy a thing, and then you go to Amazon.com. And if it took 0.2 seconds longer for the page to load, you're like, nah, I don't need that thing. They need to get in there in that tiny amount of time. So they paid a tremendous amount of money to figure out how to upgrade that website, that it should be able to load faster and faster and faster, so that you don't lose out on the impulse purchase.
That's the Avdus HaChoshim.
Mamish.
Great markets with billions of dollars.
Right, Avdus HaChoshim. A friend of mine told me this. He said he has never been shamed like this before in his life. He was in Home Depot a couple of weeks ago. And he got to the checkout counter. They have like the candies and the chocolates or whatever. So he picked up a chocolate, and the woman at the checkout counter goes, "Wow, another impulse purchase."
Oh yeah.
Now he didn't want to say to her, "By the way, you just lost Home Depot a sale and also a customer." Like I'll buy the hammer I'm buying, but I'm not coming back here anymore. But it was just like they know they put it there so that you buy it on the way
100%.
out.
100%. And by the way, it's usually put at the eye level of our kids
Oh yeah,
because they are still in the Avdas HaChush, and we are hopefully have graduated. The problem is we
right,
bend down,
right.
so
But that phrase Avdus Hachushin,
that's a bumper sticker.
yeah, that one is going to stick. He says, okay, when a person is still stuck in that world of just caving to the sensory appeal, Tolel hu adam b'chol koichai el osan mitzulos hayam shel koichas ha-ivrim u megarea es or ha-avaya. A person is still wading in that in those murky waters of blind forces that diminish the light of existence. Meaning, we have the Or HaSeichel that we can superimpose over existence, and without that, it's just drab. It's
so true.
It's
so
dull.
true.
It's boring.
I once a few months ago, I was at somebody's house and they had an anthology of H.G. Wells. And I'm a big fan of H.G. Wells. I would say one of the preeminent, science fiction writers before it became the thing. And he has a book called The Valley of the Blind. It's about this guy who falls in, is in South America. He falls over the edge of a perimeter of this valley, which was inaccessible. He falls in, and he finds an isolated population that had some sort of genetic defect, which led to blindness, and all the children are blind, and they live this blind life. And he tries to kind of explain that he can see and they can't, and they think he's crazy, and he has these extra balls the front of his face when they feel him, and they farm the land and they live their things and they walk on these special paths and they hear very well and the whole thing like that. And he can't convince them that he can see because they're like, what's the see business? He's no, I can tell you that over there. And he's like, well, what, and they can't conceptualize this. But in the end of the day, he falls in love with this girl and he's going to be part of society. And they say look, you've got idiosyncrasies. The only way you can really do this is if you remove, probably what it is that what's stopping you from being part of society is those you probably got this defect by you just above your nose. If you remove those, that'll probably make you a little more in tune with society. And he's about to go through this whole experience of and you suddenly, and he catches himself and suddenly realizes, what am I doing? They're all blind, right? And that's kind of a little bit of where we are. We can spend our whole life, just basically impulse clicking the next purchase that we want, and we're not elevated. We never thought about ideas, concepts. We're just, basically in the news cycle and the impulse cycle. That's the mitzulas hayam shel ivrim. As he says, this
Right.
this blind sea.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I think people are finally kind of beginning to figure out, because I think we were all very excited about this. We were speaking about this at the Archekala, is that the whole world was super pumped about all of the technological advances, which we still are, but it's become very clear how easy it is to hijack those impulses. Meaning it's really easy. It's really easy.
Everybody wants to stake in it because it's worth a lot of money.
Right. And there's billions of dollars that are being poured into hijacking your attention. Because your attention is worth dollars.
That's exactly what it is.
Every second, you can now, there's tracking software that tracks where you look on a page. Everybody knows that in a supermarket, you pay prime real estate to have your product at eye level of adults, right? Or the placement in a store of where your product is closer or further from essential products. So those things in physical reality are well known, but it's just as true in digital reality.
Mm-hmm.
Your eyes will naturally gravitate towards certain parts of the screen, certain sizes of text, and people pay for that. People pay for your attention. People pay for my attention. There was research that was done on supernormal stimuli. This is it's a tremendous body of research. This whole thing on supernormal stimuli. What they figured out is that all beings are adapted to notice certain things, and because of that, there's a simon and a siba for all sorts of adaptations. For example, peacocks are drawn to peacocks to mate with peacocks that have larger, more colorful plumes. So the scientists made fake peacocks that had wildly exaggerated plumes, and all of the peacocks gravitated to them. They weren't real. And baby birds, songbirds, they made songbirds with much wider beaks and much more colorful beaks, and the mother birds would prioritize feeding the fake bird over the real bird, or sitting on fake eggs that were much bigger and polka dotted over the speckled smaller ones, because those stimuli developed and evolved, and that's what we're baked into. So like we as human beings are conditioned through years and years and years of starvation to gravitate towards food that is sweet and salty and fatty. So every single fast food has
Just doing more
sugar,
of that.
salt, and fat, and then you eat all of it because it hijacks your impulse. That's what it means. It's that feeling of I shouldn't finish this bag of chips, and then by the time I finished the thought, I finished the bag of chips. That's right. Like that's how it goes. That's what he's talking about here. Is that there is a possibility of a person not overriding that with the Or HaSeichel and just living in that blindness. Blindness of just like whatever my impulse tells me, that's what I'm going to do.
Right. That's how a person can live it. That's how I would say a significant amount of the human beings on this planet live.
And I mean, this is the Milchamas HaYetzer.
Yeah.
That is it. It also colors the Yetzer Hara in like a far more compassionate and empathetic light. It's not a bad thing. It's just your drive to stay alive.
Wide.
Right. It's just a thing. It's a thing that's there.
It's just be monetized now.
Of course. But it's a thing that exists. That I mean, it's designed to keep us alive.
Yeah.
It keeps everybody alive. Just we can monetize it and make people rich or poor as a result of it, and like make and destroy lives as a result of it. So because we have the capacity to use it for nefarious purposes, it can become a Yetzer Hara. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't have to be.
After talking, I just feel like another donut. Okay.
What you say?
I just feel like a donut after this talk.
Ooh, yeah, okay. L'chaim for that. So he says like this. He says, when there is the appearance of a clear thought, a strong thought, that overwhelms, that overcomes the animalistic servitude towards physicality. And with the drawing in of all of these forces of the sublime sweetness of transcendence into the life of a person, one has the capacity, one has the ability, we have that possibility of infusing light and understanding into this blind world and to illuminate it.
Incredible. That's sort of that moment where you're able to stop, that moment where you're kind of able to like catch yourself and realize that I'm in control of the food, the food's not in control of me. That's a remarkable moment.
Right. Where you
takes over.
Where you choose the carrot instead of the kugel. Like that moment, not to say Chalila that kugel is bad or Chalila that carrots are good. That's we're not going to pass judgment here. Right? But that moment where a person knows I shouldn't eat that second helping, or I'm still hungry, but I should have something that is better for me. Right. At that moment, that the seichel
overrides that natural instinct. It's amazing. I'm hearing where we're going here. I'm hearing where we're going. Right, this is the realm of Brachos now.
So let's see. It says when the tchunas hamasis shel achila gomer espula. So when the activity of eating is completed, it comes to fruition. It is coming to plug in. It is coming to fill a hole in our basic nature. Meaning we are people that our basic nature is such that we need calories in order to survive. But when we do this with the Or HaSeichel, overriding the blindness of physicality. That does what we want it to do in a prepared and well thought out way. It says, but muchanis in a way that's already muchan,
right? Mechanized, sort of natural, yeah.
Right. It says below idea, without thought, umimela gam below yosher tzedek, and also without a value system.
Right. It just is.
This is what I think Balaz they call mindless eating. It's mindless. It doesn't have it's
no components of anything else.
Right. Meaning my mind is not involved in this mechanical action of consumption. It's not something I'm thinking about. It's just a consumption.
It's just going down.
Right. He says within all of that, it says birkas hamazon, the bracha that we make on food, misereres hatchuna hanishmasis, awakens the nature of the soul inside of us. Hatziur haruchani shel hagvaras oiz hakodesh, the spiritual picture of the strength of kedusha, misached im hakochas hachamriyim, is then united with the physical forces. Meaning, what Rav Kook is saying is not that we stop eating.
It's not sublimating,
right?
It's actually joining it.
It's infusing.
Yeah.
It's saying that which is mindless is now mindful.
Yes, precisely.
It's not that we're not eating. It's not even that we are eating differently. We are eating in exactly the same way, but consciously.
That's exactly it.
And that conscious eating transforms the eating, because now it has been infused with the Or HaSeichel.
It's brilliant. So good.
He says, "Mishavchim ka'es v'yotzim mimasar hashiflus el harum." It switches around in this moment. V'yotzim mimasar hashiflus. It exits the prison of loneliness, and it becomes elevated. Mechalalos ha'olam hanamuch el gova ha'adam she b'tzelem yotzrei. It is included. We are including the lowest elements of the world into the highest heights of a person that is created in the image of Hashem.
Amazing.
Meaning, the way that we eat transforms
who we are.
The meal and the food.
Yeah.
This food is now different food because it has been. The food can't think for itself, but we can. Right? The food does not have the capacity of thought, but our thought can make this food a different food. It comes in differently. That's a different way to eat.
It's a whole different world.
It's a whole. It's
reframing.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's mamish not. He's not even talking about choosing carrots over a kugel. He's saying eat the kugel, but eat the kugel. Eat the kugel with Or HaSeichel.
Yeah.
Meaning, mimela, we know that if you would eat the kugel with Or HaSeichel, then we wouldn't eat so much kugel. But even without that, eating in a way that is understanding that this food has the capacity of being elevated into a higher sphere of existence by it being the fuel that I take in order to do good things in the world.
It's so magical.
Means that I'll tell you what this very much takes almost for granted, and this is something that the world a little bit is uncomfortable with today. Meaning, certainly the Western world is emphatically telling us. Of Kook is saying that we are the center of existence.
Yes.
It means that
serve human beings.
Right, meaning which is the Kavanas HaBriach. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world for us to make use of and therefore elevate it. It assumes a centrality and also a massive responsibility on behalf of people.
To utilize in the correct way.
Right. Like there's a lot of a feeling that exists in some of the world of environmentalism today, which is a very beautiful world by and large.
Right, like the human being is like the colonizer, right? It's sort of like this inappropriate, artificial.
We're a virus to the world.
We're a virus, right? And so we should be like sort of backing off. Right.
Right. Rav Kook is saying no, absolutely not. The view of the Torah is that not that human beings are Chalila a virus. We are the center of creation, and we are charged with using it wisely. I mean, and Rav Kook was with his tendencies towards humanitarianism and universalism and vegetarianism. Rav Kook was not somebody that believed strongly in a capitalistic drive to use up resources and destroy the world. Chalila.
But it's tempered with this notion of this is where Judaism diverges paths from environmentalism, with a sensitivity towards it.
Right. That yes, he has baked into this that if you eat that kugel without mindfulness, then you are wasting it.
Yes.
You're wasting it by definition, because it could have been more. That's pretty heavy.
Big deal. That's a big deal.
That's a heavy. It's a heavy way of looking at it. So I think this is his preamble to understanding what a bracha is, which I think we are going to
pick up
next time.
This is wonderful, wonderful. Imagine if we could frame our lives like this.
Right.
Imagine when we go to the bathroom, we could frame our lives after saying the Brachos Shiatza at the end and sort of rethinking that. Imagine like all these experiences we have in life, just thinking.
Right.
Again.
That's this is also good mussar, like pre-Purim, because all of the poskim, right? They're like, whatever you're going to drink or not drink on Purim, if it takes you away from your ability to say a bracha like a mensch, then it's not good.
Yeah,
it's not good.
It's just part of the. Well, what was his phrase? It's shibura chomrios. So no, the avdos
hachushim.
Yeah.
Right. That's we should be lucky to be avdei Hashem.
Yeah. Should choose.
Okay.
Rabbi, a pleasure as always.
Rabbi Trump, it is a bracha as always, and I will see you next week.
Wonderful. Freilich and Purim should be uplifting. We should choose to be in this time, and that's Hashem. We should choose to want to serve Hashem, not ourselves, not our situations. Best Hashem this Purim,
and not our chushim.
Not our chushim.
Freilich, enjoy. We'll see you next time.